into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Sensei, welcome to the Legacy Ride, Season 3, Episode 11, Silver Linings. Here's another little silver lining for you that you can try to find the inkling to, and we'll try to navigate towards the answer for you at the end. Post-labor economics. Can it work? Is there a silver
is it?
lining to it? What exactly is it? But until then, why don't you go down, become a sponsor, everybody. You can hit that. You can take a screenshot of that QR code right there in the corner, and you can help us out by helping you out by getting you the information that you need and to expand your mind. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get on to the show. And we have the Emperor William back again. As I mean, I don't know any royal introduction I need to do. Andrew, do you know?
All hail the Emperor.
All hail.
And welcome into Greg, which we've missed the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
mhm.
Back on my feet. Glad to be back.
Mm.
Definitely glad to see you.
Yes, no, glad to see all of you actually. So, as far as the world's going, what's going on in the world today, I figured why talk about the world when it's just going to drag you down? So why not talk about something that the world can innovate towards? It's coming fast. So we've talked about it many times before. And William, you're pretty much astute to it. You've been studying what post-labor economic. You got me into looking more into it actually as well. So like, why not do an entire in-depth episode to kind of figure out and let everybody know what exactly is post-labor economics and what can it do for society and how we can utilize it to improvise for what
Or is it
society
improvise?
or
Improvise.
yeah. So why not? So
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take
Well,
the
real,
floor, sir.
first and foremost, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on again and the opportunity to talk about this topic. You know, everyone's, well, I wouldn't say everyone, but most of us are thinking in terms of what's AI going to do? Is it going to take our jobs? And some people say, well, it's never going to take my job. And things can creep up to you pretty quickly, especially how fast it's advancing. But when I say AI, and for this whole conversation, when I say AI, I want you to put two words together, not just AI or artificial intelligence, but I also want you to insert automation. And when I say automation, that includes robotics and all kinds of things. So it's just put that whole freight train that's coming down the tracks at us, AI and automation, put that all together. And so those of you who are wondering, what do I study? What do I take? Or my kid's going to go off to college. What's he going to study? Or what am I going to do? You know, I'm a white collar job here, and is AI going to take my job? There's a silver lining, and that's why I picked this background, a blue sky with a white cloud and a silver lining, because there is a silver lining, but it's not going to be something that's an easy transition by no means. It's something that we have to work for and work towards, and we need to paint a good picture of what that potentiality is for all of us, for all of humanity. And it's not just within the U.S. This we're talking about for all of humanity.
And it's also, I think there's a huge part of it's just going to be getting used to it, because it's going to be a weird way of doing things, right? People aren't going to think in terms of, you know, let's found a startup. It'll be huge. We're going to have billions of users and it's going to take over the world. It's going to be more like, here's an idea that might, for the first couple of years it exists, make 50 grand a month for me, type of thing. And people will just have a lot more ideas. I think that's one of the biggest parts about it.
Spot on, Greg.
Do you think that the white collar guardrail that's being built up is just the testing ground for what eventually will erode blue collar as well, and everybody will be?
Most definitely, blue collar might be the last on the list, but
blue collar may be the most eroded job there is right now as it stands, right? Like those kinds of jobs, it's almost more like white collars catching up more than anything.
And I think what you're talking about, Zach, is probably the concept of, you know, robots taking over the blue collar job, right? And the analysis work, or the keyboard, you know, keyboard, mouse, monitor, or KVM or whatever, KVM, you know, that those jobs are going to be the first to go. The stockbroker, the lawyer, the paralegal, even the teacher, the professor, all of those things are you know, the white collar job that's going to be impacted, and it already is being impacted. We're actually already seeing it because we're seeing less jobs being created. However, GDP is growing, gross domestic product growing, and that's more evidence of what we're going to fall into as post-labor economy, which brings to the next point. This is an amazing opportunity and to an exciting time to be alive. If you were living in 1700 and you walked to a farmer and said, you know, 98% of you are going to be replaced in 200 years. Yeah, they're like, yeah, right. I don't think so. You know, because everyone was a farmer. You know, very few of us were not farmers at that time. And you fast forward 250 years, you know, in today's time frame, maybe 2% of the world's population are actual farmers. And so this is an exciting time to live, because we've seen the industrial age, you know, we've seen the computer age, internet, the birth of all these different things. But right now is a giant leap, transitioning into a post-labor economy from a scarcity economy, which we're in right now. So,
I will say, like, eventually the blue collar jobs and they have been eroding, mainly because of the lack of like people wanting to jump into trades, but
Well, automation
eventually
too has
they
played a
will.
really big part.
Yeah, automation is definitely playing a big part, and you add robotics, like advanced robotics into it, and like who even wants to put themselves in danger anymore to climb up on a roof to do roofing when and plus it's cheaper. It's cheaper to
Right.
use a robot. So I mean, the robotics will eventually like make your roofers will be robotic, your painters, especially if your large high rise, like I mean, build big, large mansions, all the, your house painters, etc. It'll be easier, cheaper to maintain. They'll be nearly perfect. I mean, or at least you would hope they'll be nearly perfect, and they should be nearly perfect, if not more so perfect. And it's just cheaper altogether, and you don't have to focus on the safety aspect as well, because you don't have men on the roof or climbing up ladders, and you don't have insurance premiums that you have to cover because like it's all robotics. So like it is kind of a good thing. But what does that do for somebody that is going to be out of that work though? What can they do?
And before we even get to that point, what's going to happen is more middle class or white collar jobs are being lost. And so they're going to transition to more blue collar jobs. So next thing you know, there's going to be an abundance of plumbers, an abundance of electricians, people who have already transitioned into a different career just to try to feed their family. And that's going to drive down wages, unfortunately, for those, those trades, which is going to bring down the cost of that.
Yeah, those services, right.
And they've already done that. Well, they've kind of done that wage-wise, but they've done a reversal on the cost because how corporations run by making these trade jobs technicians. So like you have a plumber, and they would be like in the old days they'd be a master plumber, but realistically they're just an advanced technician, like a journeyman that's just stuck in a corporate arm of things for years. So they have the experience, but they're not the master, so they're making journeyman wages. So, and at this point it'll be eventually apprentice wages as you start seeing an influx of demand or supply of too many plumbers, say. And I mean, it just becomes cheap.
Now that said, it may end up balancing out, right? Because
it could,
because the lowering cost of everything may make it such that productivity is still higher, right? Which is the weird part about everybody making less per job, but still coming out ahead in terms of where they would have been economically, just because it doesn't take as much effort to do a thing, right? So you might not have one job anymore. The convenience of like the mental convenience of that is probably going to go away.
Sure.
The fact that that you can do 15 different things in a given month without breaking a sweat, and 7 of them are sufficient to fund the level of living that you want to have, right? That's plausible.
Right.
Well, right here, actually. No, I don't see people getting state licenses. It's not simple. I don't think you understand it. That brings up actually an uninteresting idea, though. The fact is you have licensing. So would people branching in, trying to feed their family, would they want to take the step to actually go in and deal with the tenfold of gaining a license? And of course, with these licenses comes that gilded aspect. So
let's see how long
you have the gatekeeping. So how do you manage that? Because I don't know.
When you're hungry,
what you run into ultimately is pressure for the licensure regime to change.
I mean, how long?
That's how I answer that question. Is like, maybe now, but like,
how old is the conversation?
Pressure.
How old is this conversation about licensing freedoms? I mean, it's been around forever and ever and a day, and people actually step up and try to, individually try to step up and say, hey, I'm going to assert this right. And then they get a police officer, take a attack dog and drag him out of the car until he submits and goes to jail.
Right.
Or in another aspect, you could see more local communities and handymen, but I don't foresee that because we live in a time where people want things done right, but they also want to know the liability, and that's where insurance and licenses shows. So, I mean, something would have to change within the licensing and the insurance structure.
Well, that's all going to be
So-
relative to the robotics aspect of it too, right? That's going to make a lot of that stuff easier, but also I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on. That's one good example. Right?
It's a really good example.
Very good example. Thank you.
These
Jim.
are going to be the last jobs that are going to be replaced.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
And those are going to be the hardest ones to ultimately replace. Right. But when it comes down to it, technically there are licensure barriers to lawyers being replaced by AI right now. And I can tell you that the quality of work coming out of most AIs is better than the quality of work coming out of most lawyers. Right. Just from my own read of it as somebody who's been trained in law, like I can get a lot better work product out of an LLM.
and
So-
Greg, look how fast
to
that
go-
transition too.
Mhm.
Yeah. And to go off of Jimmy's point too, like whether it's a power plant engineer license and it varies by state, but not really, because licensing exams are very difficult. And it's mainly difficult because they try to trick you for the most part. It's a little bit of trickery, some gatekeeping, because the real
I
estate,
imagine some of the more technical ones are probably pretty robust, right? Like an engineering power plant maintenance type tech.
Oh, of course.
That's going to be,
of course.
that's going to be
Right.
a much more, there are probably a lot more terms of art one has to know,
Yep.
a lot more instrumentation one has
yeah.
to be specifically be familiar with.
It wants.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the dumbass to get a license.
Right.
But,
Well, now
Yeah.
Jimmy here, he's one of a very select few. He's kind of the rare bird, right? The rare position of training, and to get to that level. There's not a lot of Jimmys out there that do what he does,
mhm.
So again, that is, but where we generate power and energy is going to change dramatically as well as solar technology increases. Physics becomes better understood, and problem solving by AI, genius math, levels of AI is going phenomenal. So,
Yep. And I suspect too, like we're going to have some breakthroughs coming in the energy sector from like plasma containment, which should be a lot easier now that we have some of the AI based techniques we have. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be changing in that realm. Right. So it's definitely not like, we don't want to say that there's any class of engineer or civil servant or worker who is ultimately shielded from this phenomenon. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen at a different pace everywhere.
Redard brings up a good point. Working around trades all my life, they have pretty much been steady, and illegals have been a problem for wages. That's understandable because they're cheaper. But AI will be a tool for us as humanoid robots are a bit down the road, in my humble opinion. And he's exactly right. Like the humanoid aspect of the robotics is down the road. Robotics is starting robotic automation. Automation's here, but robotic automation, that's down the road for the trades. Like it's the white collar that's kind of finally getting pushed. So it'll take some time
down the road, though. Right? Like
what is down the road?
Down the road in this sense is probably no longer than 5 years, right?
That's where I was going.
Let's be realistic about the rate of things, right? Because in this day and age, I guess you could think about it in old singularity terms, right?
Sure.
It used to be that Moore's law operated in such a way that you'd get a doubling every year or whatever. We can argue about whether Moore's law is still intact or not, but setting that aside, right, the rate of change was accelerating, is what caused that phenomenon. And what we're seeing is a similar rate of change acceleration situation where it's not just the rate of acceleration is increasing, it's the rate of acceleration is increasing. And that's like it makes it hard to reason
It's
about.
contracting.
Yeah, the amount of basically you can think about it in terms of like in a given year in 1990, how much stuff got done, and in a given year in 2025, how many years in terms of 1990 productivity happened in the first 6 months, right, or in the first month, or in the first week. These are timescales that shift, and we're as we get closer to the future, it gets faster.
It's a different robot to paint a house versus a robot that's going to mow the lawn. And just to use that as an analogy here, there's certainly different jobs that have a higher skill rate, a higher attention to detail. Robotics is going to be in different forms. It doesn't have to be a humanoid robot, you know. But should we get into these 7 slides I got here for us, and that kind of define post-labor economics? And
Yeah,
then
let's go ahead and define it.
and then because I want to paint a picture of where we're going, and I also want to paint a picture that we have an opportunity here to guide us towards more of a life of abundance. So I'm not going to get into the whole government part. I'm not going to get into that quagmire. I'm just going to get into, from kind of an economic standpoint, what's got to transition for our wage as a wage or income earning functionality, shall we say. So
Okay.
And
how's that
all
sound,
good
guys?
points for Radarn and Jimmy, actually. Very good points. So, you know, they're definitely in the game, definitely. So, but let's open up that.
All right.
We have
obviously,
screenshots. We have PowerPoints today, everybody.
It's real simple. Why do we employ robots? It's because they're better, cheaper, faster, safer. Now, obviously, in the beginning, stage 1, they're not necessarily better or cheaper, but eventually they become a better, worker, shall we say. Just look at the car.
Yeah, in the limit case, right? Like if you think about a typical workflow, like a typical job, if your job is to, put widgets on an assembly line and inspect them or whatever, right? Or assemble widgets on an assembly line and inspect them. If you have a worker that can do that 24 hours a day without needing sleep, right, you've already got a better, cheaper worker. So in hypothetical land, right, you don't have any. There's no question that a robot can't work harder than a human in the sort of the limit case.
Exactly.
It's an incremental increase.
Sure. And the self-driving car is another good example. It's not really a robot, but it is.
Right. Your self-driving car doesn't get a drink. It doesn't take a break.
So it's cheaper, and it's safer. If there's estimated that 40,000 less deaths would occur in the U.S. if most cars were already self-driving.
Yep.
So right now we live in a world.
Drunk mode.
Yeah. Right now, our current economy is often described as a scarcity. Everything is based off of scarcity. How many plumbers are there in the neighborhood that can come out and work on? Is there a shortage of plumbers? Is there an abundance of plumbers? Too many. Or is there, is it, the price of gold, the price of oil? Everything is based off of scarcity, essentially. And that is what we're at. And what I'm telling everybody, or trying to, and by the way, this comes from a gentleman by the name of David Shapiro, who has worked in the AI space and extremely intelligent person. He's got a new book coming out, and that's where I heard about this about a little over a year ago. But we are transitioning into what's called a post-labor economy. So like we've gone through the industrial age, well, this is completely different. This is going to the heart of how we define ourselves. We define ourselves, well, I'm a blacksmith, or what do you do for a living, Greg? Or what do you do, Zach? What do you do, Andrew? We often define ourselves by the work that we do. And we're going to, this is completely going to be turned upside down. And the definition is human labor input is decoupled, separated from the economic output. That would be the more of a proper definition of post-labor economy. But the simple way I like to just say is that we will no longer trade our time and our labor for a wage. it's decoupling our energy that we're spending to either make money for ourselves or to make money for somebody else and earn a wage. We'll be separating ourselves from that, and
Hmm.
and that's where we're going. That's where this AI and automation is taking us. Like it or not, it's here. We won't get into the Terminator, or the P Doom. You know, Elon says it's 20%. I heard another gentleman tell us uh, uh, closer to 50%. We're doomed by AI. We won't get into that, and we won't get into the government. But basically, if AI takes our jobs, what will we do? How will we define ourselves? And how will we get our income? And how will we pay for anything if we have no work, if we don't earn anything? And it's really three basic columns here. Today, I'm just picked, some of us, 100% of our wages are from our output, our time, our energy that we're doing to earn a wage, or our labor, right? Some
Yeah.
of us might be 90% and 5%, 5%. 5% maybe you have a room and you rent out part of your home to someone to earn income. Maybe you have a transfer. Maybe you have when I say transfers are specifically from government. Maybe you receive a disability check. Maybe you're on Social Security or something like that. But today, the majority of people live this life. Maybe 100%, 90% of their income is from wages or their household. Okay.
Yeah.
But soon, as AI and automation take over more and more jobs, and it's really knocking at the door of your white collar jobs, anyone that's touching a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor, you're the first to go. And
Yep.
this is where soon it's going to be there's no jobs. And how am I going to earn? Well, it's a race really to own property that's going to generate you an income. And we're not going to get into the elites and the power elites on that, but wages are going to significantly drop. And for government to keep the peace, things are talked about like UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is just again a transfer. You tax something, the money comes into the government, and then the government dispenses it back. Think of it as a reverse income tax, UBI. And then there's UBE, Universal Basic Equity, like the Alaskan oil. That is if you're a citizen of Alaska, you don't pay an income tax in Alaska. Instead, you get an annual dividend check based upon the value of the oil that was sold during that year, how much was sold, and then that's divvied up to the people. It's a UBE, a Universal Basic Equity. And that's what's going to happen, is to keep the peace so that people don't riot in the streets. You're going to see government stepping in and doing UBI. Now, that obviously can't go on forever. But so ultimately, the last thing you want is to rely on the government for 100% or 90 or 80, 50% of your income is from UBI or from the government. If you speak ill of the government, they're going to tax you or deduct from your payment. Maybe they might tell you what you can or can't buy. Freedoms will be lost. So you want to get away from that. And quite honestly, UBI just mathematically just doesn't work unless you believe in MMT. So that's why we need to transition towards property and ownership in various forms, numerous forms, as a form of income, such as asset producing dividends, owning even a micro percentage of a second house that is shared with 1,000 or 2,000 people, and maybe it's
Right.
an Airbnb, or maybe
Computing hardware.
So,
right, and it's
so what you're
tokenization.
saying is, I could rent out. We could fix the illegal problem by just making money off of the illegals.
Yeah, if you want to call them a robot, you want to call them slaves, and all the ethical questions that come with that. But ultimately, the last place you want to be is you don't want to find yourself where you're relying solely on the government, because the jobs have been taken over by automation. And There are a lot of people that are talking about property, and boy, the last thing, and all of you know, I'm an agorist, so the last thing I'm so far away from a communist model, it's not even funny.
Hmm.
So I'm not talking about, the government's going to come in and do property, but let me just put it a different way. Let's say we're in the middle column, okay, soon. And I mean soon means your job is out the window in 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, whatever. How are you going to replace it? And it's not just you, it's a lot of you, a lot of people in that same boat. So what really needs to start happening is like these agents that are going out and working for people, they're AI agents. Tax the agent rather than tax the income. Tax the income from the agent. Don't tax the income from an individual. Wage taxes. This is what needs to happen. So that if you want to play the tax game, that's kind of where I'm encouraging people to think a little bit differently, in that stop taxing income. And believe me, I believe that taxation is theft. We won't go down that road, but we need to start thinking about our counties, our cities. What makes your city unique? Is it because it has a beach? Is your city unique because it has a historical landmarks that tourists like to come? Is it unique because it has an amusement park? And see, these are the kind of things that could work, like the Alaskan UBE and stock ownership. We need to allow more dispersion of ownership or buy-in. When you buy something at the store, maybe you want a little bit of that purchase to go towards the ownership of selected items. So you're buying micro shares in the coffee brand you like, or the cereal, or the milk, or the farmer, the eggs, whatever. And so you start growing your property ownership, even at the micro level, and you start receiving these dividend checks. And this can all be done with blockchain. This is where it's not number go up, Bitcoin number go up. This is blockchain, where it's you can see it it can't be altered or changed, that you have ownership. And these are things that where blockchain and tokenization of assets can really help with that, so that there are no third parties. It's just you and the shared ownership and receiving a dividend and income. And AI is going to help you with this. AI is going to be able to do all the analysis. The stockbroker is gone. AI is the stockbroker, and AI is going to tell you this is a good investment, this is not a good investment, or might rate them. The last place you want to be is relying on government for UBI. And then
that's why you rely on an emperor.
Yeah. Speaking of good investment, everybody, what's covering my face? If you would like to become a sponsor, go ahead and hit that QR code, take a picture of it, right? They're covering my ugly face. You don't have to see my face right now. So, and support us. We would love you for that.
So what happens
also,
when, yes, go ahead.
Oh, I said also comment, leave a comment, give us a suggestion of what you would want us to talk about next time or expand upon, like this. Go ahead. I almost called you Andrew, my emperor. Go ahead, William.
No, thank you. So really, what does abundance look like in a post-labor world? Well, let's like I said, take the government out of the equation and all this kind of things. It's a possibility, and I have this screened as gold for that reason, because it could become more of a golden era for humanity, in that we now have more of a hyperabundance, because the cost of building things, the cost of manufacturing things is going to come down dramatically, because we're not paying individuals, we're paying robots. Robots can work 24/7. They don't take a holiday, they don't take a break, they don't have drama amongst themselves. Sure, they have breakdowns and repairs and this kind of thing, and robots repairing robots. But let's take the building of a home or something like that. If the majority of it, 40, 50, 60% of building of a home is not in the materials, but in the labor of building the home, and the home is now being built by automation, then theoretically the cost should come down by 50%. What is
Yeah,
that?
sure.
So and that goes for just about everything. It goes to, rather than you owning a car, you have a portion of ownership in a vehicle that when you're not using it, it's generating income. So your car is kind of the robo taxi, if you will. So marginal costs will come down with automation. Remember, it's better, cheaper, faster, and safer. That's why we move towards automation. And so there's going to become a cost plummet, which is like a deflationary thing for some items, which will be good. But it's a really a hard hit though, because that transition is going to be ugly as we don't have jobs, and the price of whatever you're making might be coming down because there's more automation, so you're receiving less money, right? But it gets us to this point of a post scarcity element, not quite, where we're no longer competing with our dollars to buy oil or gas or a vehicle or something like that, because with robotics we could see a future where majority of the items that are being built and manufactured are actually doing the reverse. It's not creating scarcity. There's more cars on the lot to purchase. There's more whatever. There's more chickens. There's more eggs. Whatever.
Right.
And because it's an automation, and it could be a lot cleaner. For example, we could see, imagine a data center is just full of the smartest brains in the world, geniuses, and they're coming up with new ways of fusion. They're coming up with new ways of manufacturing. That's what AI is going to do. It's going to make it even cheaper and cheaper to manufacture. They're going to come up with new materials. And so maybe we won't be using wood anymore. Maybe we'll be using, something that's extremely abundant, like silica or something. And we'll see even the cost of the actual raw materials come down. We will even see at one point, we might see where data centers are put out in space. So we're no longer robbing our own, resources here for water and electricity and other things. Manufacturing can happen in space now, right?
Cooling would be a lot easier with in space situated data centers too. Like that would be way less of a problem, just because you have the ability to spool out really long filaments, and that would be really cool if we get to the point where we are having them self-manufacture in space. That would be sort of the ideal from a
genius. Yeah, that would be
from a decentralized standpoint too. Like if we took that angle as like let's put the manufacturing facility up there and just have it start shooting out units. It's a lot harder to physically dominate a piece of infrastructure if it's being mass manufactured faster than you can capture it.
Sure.
So there's definitely an element of human freedom that we can obtain that we can't otherwise obtain,
right?
Without this.
There's going to be a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of suffering. Excuse me. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to know where they're going to get their next dollar to buy their next meal. There are already people right now that way. There are people that can't afford their mortgage and they're moving into their vehicles. Van life is taking off like a rocket. Things like this are all examples of a mismanaged economy, one, and two, automation that's taking over. The welder that was on the assembly line at, say, Chrysler, who was 40-hour work week and doing the same spot weld over and over and over, was replaced by a robot, an arm that was actually ultimately cheaper to operate. In the very beginning, these things were extremely expensive and they did a lot of mistakes. But now it's ridiculous to think that on the assembly line of a vehicle, for vehicles that we don't have this robotic automation that exceeds the work of a human. Well, that's going to propagate throughout society. But that doesn't mean it's bad for us. It's going to be an ugly transition. But it also
I
means
get it.
it could be a flourishing thing when we have more time to spend doing the things we want. And the mindset needs to be, what would it be like if I was retired right now? I had income coming in and I didn't have to work. I could pursue other things and I didn't have to spend that 40-hour work week or 50, 60-hour work week because I got to take up a second job, or I have to spend more time, commuting back and forth, which is kind of wasted time, maybe. All kinds of wonderful ideas when you start thinking in terms of post-labor economics is like most of us are retired. We'll still want to go to the concert. We're going to still want that haircut from the individual who actually cuts our hair and that we can converse with, or the bartender to converse with, rather than the robot who serves up the perfect drink. We're going to want to listen to music and listen to those imperfections. We're going to want to read a book that is actually human written and might take us on a different course, a different creative spin that AI can do or provide for us at this point, because it won't have that human touch. But we'll have those ability to time and energy to pursue those things of maybe writing, learning how to become a bartender, whatever. And we will have the opportunity to pad our income by doing things. Maybe the haircut now is $150 versus the AI robot that we trust with scissors and blades, and it's $2, but maybe we want that human interaction. I know some of us will want that human interaction, and that'll be a way that we will, actually support each other. So it's kind of ironic that maybe a barber or a hairstylist might be one of the last to be taken over, but they will still exist. And so if you really enjoy that work, well, you can pad your income that way. And so we really are looking at a brighter future. And a lot of this, like I said, comes from an idea of labor zero. And the credit I want to give is to David Shapiro, who turned me on to this whole concept of post-labor economics. When he went back at 40,000 foot altitude and looked down and said, where are we going? Because he recognizes patterns, and he's certainly the foremost expert in this study of post-labor economics. He's got a book coming out, I think this summer, hopefully July. And but where all the big angst is right here. How do we transition from today to soon to the goal? And government is in the way, inflation's in the way, banking's in the way.
There's a very good chance that the way this happens is the whole thing starts looking like a giant scribbled over drawing for a while before one of the others comes out, right? Like there's a fair chance that the way this happens is just like, because it can't happen the old way anymore.
Yes.
Fragile gradient strength.
Yeah. It'll teeter right to the edge of the cliff, right? Until there's no more cliff for it to teeter towards the edge of, and then it'll just fall off.
Gradualism suddenly.
Yeah, exactly.
So there it is, guys.
There
is really a silver lining. There really is. And to shout out to your podcast, Silver Linings. It doesn't, I used to say no brain, no pain. But
it's good.
Really, it is, with no pain is no gain. And there's going to be pain along the way. And I've been talking, and I have been able to read and talk at the same time, all these comments from those who are watching. Now, Kat, she's heard this all before when I was on the Star Trek podcast. Anyway,
I'd like to raise the question here. Would you trust a human, or would you trust an AI robot to build your house? Honestly, with the cheap labor and how spotty many of the most laborers are, because I hate to break it to you, illegals, I would trust the robot over the people at this point.
But do you know how many homes in America you can open up the sheetrock and you're going to find what the person who made the house, what they had for lunch, maybe a Coke can,
right. No, I've seen that happen. There was So the house that I grew up in, my parents had built, and one of the unique features of it was this exposed concrete block wall that ran up through the center of it. The workers were certain was going to be covered up. So certain, in fact, that to this day you can walk up the stairs in my house and see all the cigarette burns, right? Where they put out their smokes on what they thought was going to be an internal structure.
Wow.
But
I mean, I've done security and stuff like that, and I know that there's a lot of wasted pay in the construction industry. People who say they're doing stuff, but they're just sitting there, goofing off, thinking they're not being watched and burning away the employer's money. I've seen people sleeping on the job, thinking that they're not going to get caught. I've heard stories about people who were just being really lazy and they did their waste into plaster, thinking, what the hell? No one's going to say anything. And they got away with it. Some people didn't. Some people did. It's wild stuff, the amount of waste that happens. That's the big part of the cost of, housing is recuperating all the unnecessary labor cost.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
A house built in a factory will have more specs, shall I say, more exact dimensions and these kinds of things, less errors, less problems, better sealed, et cetera, et cetera. And that might become the wave of the future, is modular housing that's built in a factory by automation and brought to a site where a few human contractors are there,
to connect.
I kind of think there's actually a
together like
future
a puzzle.
in additive manufacturing based homes where you bring out this huge 3D printer and out pops the house right on site. I think I think there's a lot there.
I've seen videos about that. Yeah.
right?
I think that's what speaking of the housing, I think they call that kit housing. And it's basically they piece it together on site, but it'll be built on an assembly line, and then they'll ship it out to the site in pieces, and then you'll have a few contractors who will end up puzzling it together, clicking it into place, and then you'll have you'll need your electrical attached, you'll need your plumbing attached, so you'll have those contractors, and then everything, and then after that it's complete. You just put it all together, put the plumbing and the electrical in place, and then you're good to go pretty much. So
there's even some out there now, like have you guys ever seen house.me, HAUS.me?
No, I don't.
It's a cool one. You get an entire modular house delivered to a place where it doesn't even need to have a slab poured in order for them to put it down. And it includes gray water and black water systems and power built in. The whole thing's like an off-grid single unit drop. And you can string them together as well. So if you want to put like two of them up, all you need are a couple $100,000 and a place to put it.
You can buy a home. You can buy these, like Radar NJ says, these prefab homes could be amazing. Yep. You can buy a home on Amazon now. You can buy a home, at Costco.com or whatever. And there might be tiny homes, like you said, that can be put together. But Elon Musk is selling those types of homes. They fold out. They already have, already included in there is all the electrical, the appliances. So
it kind of makes sense. It seems weird that we buy like cars like that with all the stuff already installed for the most part, but we don't buy houses like that.
And these are the things that are going to change, and the materials are going to be different. There's so many beautiful golden opportunities for we don't have to chase our dollar for wages anymore. Our energy is spent chasing for wages to feed ourselves and put a roof over our heads.
And ultimately, the lion's share of all the cost that goes into all of our economics is the human labor piece. And if we didn't need that piece in the lion's share of the labor, then the goods would cost fractionally what they do. Like we're talking, maybe everybody only makes $100 or $150 a month, but the value of lavish trips to the grocery store plus a nice house payment plus all this other stuff is like a grand total of $50 a month once you once you start really focusing on where the costs are coming out of things with labor.
Or even better, maybe it's only it's only 0.0000000067 Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, possibly. Who knows?
Andrew, your question was when, right?
Oh,
What was your question?
well, I was going to say, I mean, we're talking about 3D printing houses and stuff like that earlier. When are we going to start 3D printing cars? I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but who's to say it isn't down the pipe? Who says they're not working on it behind the scenes?
That would be
So
pretty
they-
hard to do.
Well, I realize that,
You
but I
design
mean-
the right kind of car.
Tesla
Design the right
has
kind of car.
Tesla has a mold, essentially, and it was the first one developed in the automotive industry for its unibody construction.
Mhm.
And which is essentially like no welding. It's just, it's just,
Yes, it will.
it's right here in Texas was the first one, but IKEA furniture.
Will IKEA furniture be a antique in a shop?
There are already collectible pieces of IKEA furniture.
Yeah. It's a good question. It's a great one.
But there's a lot of crap though too. So
Yeah.
I agree. Hand built is always going to be somewhat top shelf. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Will IKEA be antique? Certain pieces already, but most of it, no. I agree with that. Though I doubt it. So
which brings my point to the golden era that's coming. That I would like to point out is that there's going to be the
Venezuela?
individual who's making that handmade chair furniture
Mhm.
who enjoys it. That's what they want to do. That's their passion. And if they only want to work 15 hours a week, so be it, but
Yeah.
they're going to make something that someone else is going to say, I don't want that AI automated robotic piece of furniture. I want to decorate my home with also some human made furniture. And
Something that's
and
artistic.
and it's going to be a little bit different now. But
Because nothing says
As
love for
far-
one's fellow man like artifacts that are extracted from their time commitment. That's actually kind of interesting, isn't it?
you're right. Now
See,
it's going to
take-
happen faster than we think. It really is. We touched on this just earlier. You look at law, how fast that, new law firms are just not hiring new grads
No, they aren't.
Mm-mm.
at
No,
all.
they're-
And
Nor
feel
should
for
they.
Who knew? Rather than billing somebody for $200,000 to $400,000 a year to do a bunch of grunt work is
Right.
going to be out the window.
So now
Stockbrokers,
they have all the new associates using AI. And,
Yeah.
real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate
The-
is
the-
now
the,
being replaced with AI.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Already, as we speak right now.
None
there
of this
are
stuff was
realtors-
ever all that terribly
Basically,
complicated.
that's actually a good thing in my opinion because that allows you to use AI to undercut the real estate, and so then now you're selling on your own, and you can do you'll see a whole lot more for sale by owners because you can just easily just sell. So by your own right, just sell in your own time. Use AI as a tool. The MLS multi-listing service is already public for the most part. There's certain things you don't see on like Zillow.
Well, and imagine if
Zillow
you
is
started
pretty
doing
much
like,
the MLS.
what if you went with alternate contract arrangements too? Like, could you imagine a sort of pop-up universal for sale by owner via rent to own mechanism showing up where like literally the whole thing gets orchestrated by people paying micropayments to stay in a place, and if they pay for as long as it takes to own it, then they own it. I've always wanted to see it work like that.
Yeah, that's what I picture. I picture, maybe buying a house down the street in my neighborhood with another 500 people, and it's all tokenized. And as an asset, a DAO is set up, a decentralized autonomous organization. It doesn't matter that $2 was invested from Zimbabwe and $5 from Singapore and $1.50 from Japan. It doesn't matter anymore. It's borderless, and we all share from a micro percentage when that home is rented out as an Airbnb or leased out. And that's the wave of the future. What's in the way, obviously, is government regulations. and licensing and these kinds of things. But as those possibilities are presented to the public, and the public realizes that they can't do these things because there are certain ridiculous, old, antiquated regulations that are preventing it, that's going to change.
Yep. Exactly.
You got to
Push
cat
it,
everybody.
push it change. Or
Well,
they'll
and
just say,
that will unleash a lot of that hidden economic potential and property that you were talking about, right? Like that ultimately is, the difference between a confiscatory and a deregulatory path to this future.
Freedom contracts.
Radar NJ says, wow, AI agents get your financing. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
There are companies out there that would search, and there were workers out there that were searching for the best, loan deal,
Yep.
and that job is, again, a keyboard, mouse, monitor. You're done. You're toast. Sad. It's the way it's.
Yep.
You are the buggy whip.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
like with
Probably
it's
what
just like with
manufacturing-
HR. I mean, AI is eroding human resources. Thank God, because I mean the recruiting can be done automatically. The HR, the payroll, it's all from an app anymore. And you can just think if it's all applied to AI. I mean, everything is being offshoot to a better to what it looks to be a better parameter, a lot easier, a lot cheaper, and you're starting to see companies realize, why would I pay a premium of a wage for someone who does really just nothing but to sit at a computer all day at a desk when I can and doesn't get they're not as efficient. Not to say that they don't do work, but they're not as efficient. And sort of like Julia right here, she's trying to be efficient with love. But with that, the AI can be a lot more efficient, even more so than a human.
Absolutely. So if you think of it in terms of retirement, that's what post-labor economics is. It's essentially retirement. And what we want to do is we want to push as many people into that retirement mode as fast as possible.
And if you don't like retirement mode, here's how I think about it for myself. The way that I like to think about it is, if you could do everything, what would you do first?
Bingo. It's perfect. Now it's going to happen quicker than we think. It really is. It's already happening. When you're going to see more this year, especially, you're going to see job loss, less new jobs being created, but yet the GDP is going to increase. And it's going to increase for two reasons. One, inflation, because of the printing of dollars. So the cost of living just goes up, even though it's really nothing has changed. But you're also going to see the GDP grow because it's AI and automation is going to unleash new business models, new things. You're going to have one person with a multi-billion-dollar company, one employee employing AI agents to do all the work. It's already happening. We just haven't hit that $1 billion company mark yet with one employee, one person at the ownership. So those are opportunities.
Point here.
Those things are going to happen quick. And there's a small window for those things to happen. But it is out there. It is happening. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who wouldn't want to see AI and automated systems expand and even go into robotics? And then you have other endless opportunities for people who are tech savvy and mechanically inclined, jump into a skill that they could be in. So then you have people that have to maintain those systems. So you're always going to have somebody that has to maintain it. I mean, even if it's on the smallest scale, and you're basically maintaining you're maintaining the maintenance bot to actually do the maintenance on the other bots. Even if it's that, you're still there's still an opportunity out there for anybody, right, whether it's on the low level or if it's somebody that's got this potential multi-billion-dollar company that they no longer have to have all these excess expenses to payroll for jobs that who knows if many of these jobs are actually efficient or even needed. So then you can start actually allocating, okay, well, which human process do I need and who do I need to keep? And then what can be managed by the AI and what can be managed by robotics? And then you find a balance in between.
It's repetitive. If a job requires a lot of repetition to do it, those are the first to go. Those are the first to be automated.
They ought to be. Those are the ones people like doing the least.
Like
Yeah,
the IRS.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
going to come in place with game theory. Like, you know, if it's a game, you have either, you know, one action or a recycling series of actions. You're going to play the field as to which one works better and which one works worse.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I'm just, I mean, that was the extent of what my comment was.
Damn it, Andrew. I was trying to get you to talk more.
It's all right. Well, Andrew could speak to this. Think of it this way. Before there were cameras in security, you really had to staff more individuals to cover certain areas in the perimeter, right?
Right. People whose job was literally to open their eyes and look.
So once we came up with a cheaper camera that could be mounted on the side of a building and a cable that ran back to a monitor, forget the computer side of it, then you know, that replaced an individual. That camera, cable, monitor replaced an individual maybe.
Right. And no longer did one person's head have to be inclined a certain way and their ocular apparatus open towards a certain direction.
Yeah. Next thing you know, there's multiple cameras. The cameras can tilt and span and zoom in and record. And you have a person in a control room who's watching a lot of monitors rather than one supervisor watching a lot of,
watching
security
security guard. That's all the cameras are.
Key, and they got to turn the key to say that they went to this post A and then post B and post C, and that they went, you know, on their rounds and went to all these locations rather than just went and slept in a corner where there was no camera watching. So there's automation. That's a good example of automation that took place in the security realm, in the security industry. And that's exactly could be as replicated in just about every job, especially where there's repetition.
I'm going to answer this on Katie. I mean, why are there still joblessness for people who have the skills, but they're not given the job? Anymore, I don't think it has anything to do with the lack of piece of paper. I don't think it has anything to do with a degree anymore. I think it has a lot to do with DEI.
Who you know.
And it's who you know. It's always been who you know. And then in the corporate measure of today's world, the DEI apparatus is extremely. I mean, it's been instilled for a while, but it's started to actually start going into fruition. The difference is as we're jumping into automation and AI and that new innovation is coming about, the DEI measure is starting to backfire. So now they're starting to realize we can replace people with just a body. People that we actually need with just a body, but now we can actually replace the bodies with automated technologies that will actually do the work and do the work well. So now you're like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because now the skilled workers are out on that regiment because of the DEI, but the DEI workers are out because they're starting to realize we don't want a body. We need to actually maintain shit. And otherwise, things start falling apart.
Hired on merit and promoted on merit by good work and having a good reputation or something coming in. And absolutely. Remember, corporations though ultimately they're there to serve the corporation, not the workers. The corporations have turned into sharks. You know, we thought we were swimming with a school of fish, and they were, who knew that Kmart was going to be bringing in all these cheap Chinese goods, and then later it was Walmart, and then later it became Amazon, and then next thing you know, they're delivering more packages, and UPS workers are getting laid off. It's a cycle. They're sharks. ultimately the corporations, and I was part of that group. I was, well, it's good, it's more innovative, but ultimately that's really what it comes down to, is this golden era will create more entrepreneurial spirit amongst all of us. But now all of us can't be entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us just aren't cut out that way.
Or can
Now,
we?
Radar makes
Oh,
MJ
man.
makes a great point here.
I think it's in our DNA. I think we're all entrepreneurs. We just have to ignite it. I think
the second
we're all
that,
given a chance.
second that you have all of the resources
Relationship building,
needed
as Ramon says.
and sort of labor sources needed replicated for anybody to do whatever they want, right? Then it becomes a matter of, do you have a vision for a thing, right?
Yep.
And if you can come up with that, then you can be an entrepreneur. But
Yes,
but I
yes.
don't think the barrier is going to be high anymore. I don't think that it's just like a thing that people in Silicon Valley can do with if they have the right VC connection. It's going to be like everybody will have a chance to do equity funded ventures ultimately.
Cops walking the beat develop relationships in the hood, and that's lost.
Yeah,
He's absolutely right. It's lost because the cop isn't getting to know the neighborhood, but now the neighborhood is a neighborhood going to be, are we going to just transition to where everyone's online, social media apps, and doing nothing with themselves? But see, we need purpose in life. We need purpose, and that's one of the things that drive us is purpose. And it's going to be different. We're going to have our purpose isn't, well, I'm a blacksmith, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I work at the school, whatever. I'm a manager, blah blah blah. It's we're going to have to define our purposes differently. Think about it. When we were running around on the savannah, we didn't call ourselves, well, Fred over here, he's a cheetah hunter, and cheetah hunter.
Right.
You were part of a tribe, and you worked to hunter gatherer to feed.
I think the world needs to be filled with more ersatz titles, frankly. Why don't we just have everybody make up whatever it is that they want to be at any given moment?
Yeah. Bingo.
It's pretty much what I do all the time.
Our relationships
didn't exist until I decided to type it in.
There you go. True. Good point, Greg.
But just do things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't waste away just because now you got a simple income like a UBI, UBE.
Yeah, or do whatever.
Yeah,
it's totally okay to spend the rest of your days playing, Borderlands 4. Or
Eve Online. Eve Online. You can waste away on your computer playing Eve Online for free. Not a sponsor.
Excuse me. I had to go play Midnight Club 2.
Yeah.
Great game.
Just make sure to start
video
playing
games for
before
a
you
couple
do it.
months. It's okay to play video games, everybody. It's okay to unwind. Just don't make it your life. So
the transition's going to force people to create their own jobs. It really is. It's happening right now. We're forced to creating our own jobs. I'm sorry, I'm derailing your joke, but that
we are actually
overqualified. Kat mentioned her mom being overqualified. She didn't get the job. Sometimes companies don't want to hire the overqualified because they think they're going to jump after they spent money training an individual. They're overqualified, so they're going to jump at a bigger opportunity. And it's sad that corporations aren't there for us, really. They may be there for the customer, but the employee is turned into an ugly. It didn't used to be that way. You got hired with a company and you stayed with that company. It was like a social contract. I'm going to be here for 30, 40 years and retire with you. We want you here for 30, 40 years. We want you to retire here. And that there was a pension, and there was a hard connection that they would work hard to, and that work ethic kind of got lost. And not only that, the company started screwing over the employee. Well, I don't need to give 2 weeks because you didn't give me 2 weeks. The last time, or the last company didn't give me 2 weeks. They just fired me or laid me off because whatever reason. And so a social contract between the employee and employer has been lost. And this is again, another reason for a golden opportunity here, a golden age of a post-labor economic model where you can have ownership in robots and automation. You don't have and small micro shares in the company or whatever. You don't have to worry about, did I please my boss today or not? Oh, did I get that promotion today or not? I hope I did, because my car needs brakes, and if I don't get the promotion, I'm not going to be able to afford new brakes. Whatever, all those worries and angst and stuff can go away, but it's not going to be easy in that transition. We can do it.
Hey guys, I have to jump.
And
I will catch you all a little bit later. It was great being on.
All right.
All right.
Greg,
Thanks, Greg.
Save you.
Good to see you, bud.
coming back and joining us. So, but fix that, Andrew.
Hell,
Or
if I
I'll
know, I
fix
just
it.
work
But-
here.
Yeah, but to transition, that what we're missing in today's society is and I think this is what's making it hard for people to understand that we have to adapt and innovate with ever-changing flow, and especially in the concept of post-labor. But we're missing the other aspect of bandwidth language, of high bandwidth language. And we're stuck in society has had it to where we're low bandwidth. So we're focused too entirely on ourselves and the lack of community and the lack of inspiration. And so we talk in a low nature effectively. And our vocabulary has clicked it. You've seen like what are the kids slang today? Mine was like dude, dog, homie. Now it's like cringe, bet, whatever, and it's going to change. Like the words are vocabulary is getting dumbed down, and I think that's what we need to we need to figure out. And so everybody, go check out Quantum River World. It's quantumriver.world. And check out this site. There's books and more. There'll be weekly newsletters if you'd like to subscribe. But try to reshape your mindset and try to get into a strategy of high bandwidth while we're while we're in the mix of a confluence at the river of this new age of automation and AI and post-labor psyche. Combine it and let's gain some inspiration. Head on over to Quantum River World, quantumriver.world, and check it out. So Eric Zender, if you don't know who that is, he is an author, philosopher, theologian. He also at one point was a master builder within his family's business. They were master builders, but he was a graduate of Yale. He did his postgraduate at Yale, and he is a student of language. And that's what we need to get back into the language aspect, start using high bandwidth language while we're also trying to restructure society and go into a new age to where we can become more entrepreneurial in our own selves rather than be stuck in let life basically force us to be stuck. We can't let life keep us down. So go check out Quantum River .world, everybody.
Sounds like a pretty cool little setup.
It is actually very good. Anything else? So we need to
Decentralize everything.
So yes, decentralize everything,
including your income.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, we need to become our own bank. We need to become our own boss. We need to become our own property. So our own mortgage broker. We need to become a whole lot, because if we don't, then we're just going to let everything pass us by. And then you could be the white collar worker, you could be the law school graduate that doesn't have a job making $400,000 a year doing a bunch of grunt work because the AI can do all the grunt work. and eventually it's going to get to the point where the welder or the auto mechanic, I mean, it's already gotten to the point for the auto mechanic. I mean, to a certain extent, most auto mechanics are getting out of it because the new cars are just too diagnostic savvy towards computers that it's like,
Well, and
go check out the dealer. Yeah, go the dealer. So, I mean, eventually the dealer's just going to be more automated. So eventually you're not even going to have a human technician in there either. So like,
right.
we need to figure out, what do we do with post-labor economics? How do we reach utopia without being utopian?
Just remember, freedom contracts.
True.
It gives birth to even more freedom.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True.
That's that freedom was in Christ.
Absolutely.
So, any silver linings that we've cut away there, Andrew, William?
I discovered mine, so
Wait, what is yours?
that freedom contracts.
Oh yeah. Stay sovereign, says Red On. Stay sovereign and amen. So yeah. So
Good job.
we've gone an hour 15, guys.
Sweet.
And so what anything else that we can mention there, William? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
We're going to have some tough choices, and we're going to be sold a lot of propaganda in this fight. I wish I'd looked it up. I meant to before the show, but there's a statistic that says after you have so much high I'm gonna have to go to my seat. All right, cool. There's a statistic, something about every percentage point of unemployment or a tenth of a percentage point equates to so many deaths. And it's sad. It's a dark thought. And so as we see more and more people struggle to make ends meet, and with an uphill battle with inflation and job loss, this kind of thing, you're going to have to be creative to create your own wage during this transition, and be creative in the way you start growing and your ownership and property, even at the micro level. And AI can help you with that. I think it's not going to be easy, but we can do it. We can push through this, and we'll come out better. Our children's children will certainly come out better. But this is going to happen within 4, 5, 6 years. We're going to be more. The unemployment rate is going to be through the roof. People really have no clue how fast this is happening. We can do it.
Amen. We can do it. We definitely can do it. Any last thoughts there, Andrew? Any last words?
Humans have pulled through a lot of really, really difficult times throughout history. We can do it. Yeah.
Good.
History rhymes, but why not stop history from rhyming and take everything that we're learning, every bad thing, and actually, make something good out of it, which is not what we do. We make everything bad, like nuclear energy, couple malfunctions at the power plant and shut it all down. We're like, no, figure out ways, figure out safety protocols, innovate, work on it, make it better, because honestly, it's probably a better scenario. That way we can diversify in energy. Look at us. We're in Iran right now, the Straits of Hormuz. And the United States produces an abundance of oil, but yet look at our gas prices, mainly because of our refineries. They're from like the 1920s. Wow. But the Straits of Hormuz is shut down, and Iran's still getting about 16 million barrels out somehow. And the gas prices are starting to go up. Well, why not diversify? So like when one bad thing happens, diversify. Figure out a way to how do we diversify so we don't put ourselves in that situation? So like if we do go to a war with Iran down the road again, we're independent. That's what that's what post-labor economics is. It's independence for the individual, the community, the region, the township, and then inevitably your country. So
Absolutely.
Bill Clinton said it's the economy, stupid. I'm going to say it's sovereignty, stupid.
stay sovereign.
Every time.
Are we all sovereign citizens?
Well, I'd like to be, but you know the consequences of actually stepping up for that. I don't want to get my arm bit off and then bleed to death.
All you do, Andrew, is you
Renounce,
register
renounce,
your vehicle.
renounce.
Hey, you register your vehicle with a church, and then you no longer need insurance or a registration because the church owns the vehicle. And so then you don't need the license plate. So when they pull you over, you just hand them the non-for-profit like information about all the church's information. Like, here, it's I'm a sovereign citizen.
You won't
I
be able
wish
to
it worked
get
out
away
well.
with that in a country like the United States. Maybe in Japan, you have a better chance, but not here.
Probably. That's true. That's sad.
I don't think so.
Land of the free. Home of the brave.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Find your tribe.
Yeah, exactly. Find the tribe. So anything, anyways, everybody, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this with your friends, your family, all of your social media friends, and get the word out. And let's teach people about the silver linings of society rather than dwell in the negative like our news and our social media. So
Good one.
Thanks for watching, guys.
So thanks for watching. That's William, our emperor. Come to den.social. So maybe you can vote him out and you can become emperor.
That's right. That's right.
So, and join us tomorrow for World Blockchain Roundtable. I'm going to let William do the honors of telling us what we're discussing.
We're going to talk about tokenization of assets on the blockchain. And that actually ties right into what we talked about today about, the property and ownership. So I think that's part of the solution in that transition period. Government's kind of got to get out of the way. Government should tell me I can't invest in a company because I'm not an accredited investor. Get out of the way, government. We're just going to do it anyway. Or allow me to buy micro shares, or allow someone from Zimbabwe to buy a micro share, in a company or in a home or in a robot or an automation project with tokenized assets, tokenized on the blockchain. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Be good. It's going to be good. It ties right into this perfectly.
It really does. So join us on Dragon Chain, Litecoin Lisa, hopefully Satoshi Sean, and the Legacy Right, wherever you want to watch it at, or on X or wherever. I think it's also LinkedIn. It's everywhere. World Blockchain Roundtable, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. So check us out tomorrow and learn a little bit, because we're on a positive track.
Yes.
We just have to work for it. So, Andrew, anything you want to say? That's your
Looking
blog.
forward to tomorrow. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm always bald. So we'll see you then, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Oh, I thought you got it, Andrew.